Welcome to the beginning of our journey through the game development, HTML to Unreal Engine mastery. This course is designed to guide you from the basics of creating a simple web-based games using HTML5 to mastering the complex landscapes of game development with Unreal Engine, as we look into the world of game design, development, and deployment. You'll gain not just technical skills, but also a deeper understanding of how to bring your creative visions to life into the form of engaging and immersive games. I'm Carlos Zaus, and I bring over a decade of experience in IT-related fields, spanning areas from software development to academic instruction in cutting-edge technologies. My enthusiasm for game development, combined with a strong foundation in technical instructions, positions me uniquely to guide you through the both artistic and technical aspects of creating video games. In this course, I will share insights that bridge the gap between theoretical concepts and practical application in game development, helping you to understand not just the hows, but also the whys behind the game creation. This introductory video sets the stage of what we will learn through this course. Starting with the essential of HTML5, we'll progress through the increasingly complex game development environments, culminating in the powerful Unreal Engine platform. Each lesson is designed to build upon the previous one, ensuring a comprehensive understanding of game development from the ground up. By the end of this course, you will be equipped with the knowledge and skills to create your own games and understand the intricacies of different game development platforms. So let's set forth on this exciting adventure into the realm of game development, where creativity meets complexity in the creation of interactive experiences. In this video, we'll embark on an exciting journey through the core concepts and elements that make game not just playable, but enjoyable. We'll explore what defines a game, diving into gameplay mechanics, the role of story, and how player interaction shapes the experience. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of what it takes to craft engaging games that captivate players' imagination and stand the test of time. First, let's talk about gameplay mechanics. These are the rules and procedures that guide the player's actions within the game world. Think of them as an engine of a car, which is crucial for moving forward. For instance, in a game like Super Mario Bros., the mechanics involve running, jumping, and dodging obstacles to progress through the levels. This simple yet effective gameplay loop has kept players engaged for decades. Mechanics are the foundation that gameplay builds upon, determining how interactive and fun the game can be. Next, we'll dive into the importance of story in the games. A compelling narrative can transform a simple game into an immersive experience. Consider The Legend of the Zelda series. Its rich storytelling and expansive worlds offers more than just challenges. They also provide a reason for them. Each quest and encounter isn't just a task, it's a step in a larger engaging narrative that players feel a part of. Now let's take a look at the player interaction. This element is about how players influence and are influenced by the game in real time. For example, in multiplayer games like Fortnite, interaction extends beyond the game itself into social communication, strategy, and competition with other players. This layer of interaction adds depth to replayability, making every season unique. To illustrate how game development incorporates real-world processes, let's examine the structured stages of creating a game. Think of development as building a house. Initially, there's a planning phase where developers lay out the game's blueprint, deciding on the genre, key features, and overall goals. Similar to an architect designing and building a plan for the house. Following this, the production phase kicks in, where the actual game assets like characters, levels, and sounds are created. This is akin to the construction phase in building, where every part must align perfectly with the plans. Finally, there's testing and refinement, where developers tweak the game based on the feedback, ensuring everything works perfectly before the launch. This malicious process ensures that the final game delivers a seamless and enjoyable experience for the players. Each phase is crucial, and skipping one can lead to a game that feels incomplete, much like a house that isn't fit to live in. In summary, we've encountered the essential layers that make a game more than just a series of tasks. It's an adventure, a challenge, and a story that players live and influence. You now understand the importance of a gameplay mechanics, the power of good story, and how player interaction enriches the gaming experience. By the end of this video, I'll hope you feel prepared to look at the games with a deeper appreciation and keen eye for what makes them truly engaging. But before you go, I have a question for you. In this video, we'll explore the vast landscape of game genres and the platforms they inhabit, jumping into how its diversity shapes the games we love and the choice developers make during the design process. By the end of this video, you'll have a broader understanding of what variety in gaming and how it influences both player experience and development strategy. First, let's break down the different game genres. Just like in films or literature, each genre in gaming offers a unique style and experience. For example, role-playing games or RPGs like Skyrim allow players to explore vast worlds and craft intricate stories for their characters. Strategy games such as StarCraft challenge players to think critically and plan ahead, managing resources and commanding armies. Each genre appeals to different tastes and skills, influencing how developers design games to create engaging experiences that resonate with their audience. Next, we'll look at the platforms where these games come to life. From powerful consoles like PlayStation and Xbox, which cater to graphically intensive games, to mobile platforms, which are perfect for casual, on-the-go entertainment like Candy Crush. So each of these platforms has its own strength and limitation that developers must consider. Even within PC gaming, the variability in hardware means games must be adaptable to different system capabilities. Understanding these platforms helps developers decide where their game will have the greatest impact. Now, let's connect how these genres and platforms interact. Some genres are naturally suited for certain platforms. For instance, complex strategy games often find a home on PCs, where the hardware supports extensive multitasking and detailed graphics. On the other hand, puzzle games thrive on mobile and tablet devices due to their simple interface and touch controls. This synergy between genre and platform is crucial in game design, ensuring that the game not only runs smoothly, but also provides the best possible experience for the user. To give you a practical example of this interaction, consider how Fortnite has adapted across various platforms. Originally designed for more powerful consoles and PCs, then its developers re-engineered it for mobile devices, ensuring gameplay remains fluid, engaging, and consistent across all platforms. This adaptation shows the importance of understanding both the genre's demands and the platform's capabilities to create a versatile and widely accessible game. In summary, this video has provided you with a window into the diverse world of game genres and the platforms they inhabit. You now understand how different genres cater to various players' preferences and how platforms influence the technical and creative decisions in game development. By recognizing the strength and constraints of each, developers can craft exceptional gaming experiences tailored to each platform's unique audience. Join us in the next video as we further explore the technical aspects of game creation. But before you go, I have a question for you. In this video, we'll take a comprehensive look at the game development process, exploring each stage from the initial idea to the final tests before a game's release. By the end of this video, you'll understand the key phases of game development, what each entail, and why each is crucial for creating a successful game. Our journey begins with the idea and concept. This is where creativity blooms. Game creators brainstorm ideas, themes, and overall purpose of the game. This stage is all about asking what experience we want to provide. For example, the concept behind Minecraft started with a simple idea of allowing players to build and explore their own worlds. This phase sets the direction and tone for everything that follows, establishing a blueprint that guides the entire project. Next, we move into the design and planning stage. This is where the conceptual ideas are transformed into detailed plans, including game rules, level designs, character, and story. Game designers create documents and sketches that map out the game's environment and how players will interact with it. This stage is important to an architect, creating detailed plans before construction begins. It's about laying down a solid foundation. Following, design development begins. This phase involves programmers, artists, and sound engineers who bring the game's world to life. They code the gameplay mechanics, create visuals, and compose the soundtracks. Tools like Unreal Engine and Unity are often used here to help build and render the game world efficiently. For example, Fortnite utilizes Unreal Engine, which allows for high-quality graphics and smooth gameplay on various platforms. After development, the game enters the testing and iteration phase. This is where quality assurance teams rigorously test the game to find and fix all of the bugs. It also involves gathering feedback from early testers to refine the gameplay and improve the experience. This stage is critical as it ensures the game is fun, functional, and ready for launch. Think of it as the final inspection before a new car model is released to the public. In summary, we have navigated through the stages of game development, from the spark of an idea and a concept to the malicious testing that ensures the polished final product. Each stage is vital, demanding creativity, precision, and collaboration to bring a game from concept to reality. By understanding these phases, you gain insights into the complex art and science of game development. Stay tuned for our next video, where we will look into the tools and technologies that make modern game development possible. But now, I have a question for you. In this video, we will explore what is HTML5 and why it is so popular. We will try to understand the foundational role of HTML5 in web-based game development. By the end of this video, you will be able to identify the key features of HTML5 that make game development possible. And also we will take a look at other technologies that come together with HTML5. Let's get started. First thing is we need to understand what HTML5 is. HTML5 is the latest version of HTML language. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. This is a standard language to create and design web pages and web-based applications. This language is not only good for creating web pages that we can see around the internet, but also creating games. And the latest version is HTML5. This technology is so popular in game development because it is all rendered in the browser. What it means? We don't need any fancy rendering programs or any compilations. The code we write is directly rendered by the web browser you use daily. In these days, essentially any web browser that you would use would support all of the features that HTML5 comes with. HTML5 comes what we call a tags. Everything that we write should go in some sort of a tag. Let it be a header, footer, or body. Each tag is responsible for different kind of information to be located inside of it. Another important feature of HTML5 is its support for multimedia. Also, that means we can incorporate pictures, video, and audio files in our games. Another benefit for using web-based technologies for game development would be its cross-platform support, because the browsers these days on your mobile phone can easily do the same things as on desktop computers. In order to create a web-based game, HTML5 is not the only thing we need. Basically, we have this magic trio of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML, we already know what it is, but CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Basically, it's a language to make our games beautiful. Then we have the functional part. JavaScript is responsible for making things happen in the game itself. And in HTML5 ties that all together, and HTML5 shapes everything together so we can have a web page, application, or web-based game. And HTML5 ties it all together, making it possible to create applications, web pages, and games as well. Game development can be done using just these three technologies. But to make it more sophisticated, more complex, there are other moving parts as well. First of all, we could have what is called server-side. Server-side handles more advanced user interaction. Let's say we would have a multiplayer game. That means the game shouldn't be only rendered in the end user's browser, but there should be an endpoint where other users are connected together. That is what we call a server-side. For server-side development, we could use something like Node.js, PHP, Java, or Python. Then we have frameworks. Specifically, we can talk about HTML5 game development frameworks like Phase, Create.js, and Babylon.js. Frameworks have a structure for a project and pre-written code that we can use to make our games faster and more reliable. Next ingredient we need to start coding is what we call IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. In this case, I'm using what is called Visual Studio Code. But we also have different IDEs like IntelliJ and Eclipse. So let's take a look what we have over here. I have created a new file called index.html. How did I did that? I'm right-clicking in the blank space, selecting new file, and calling it index.html. HTML files are what we use in order to start coding using HTML5. Let's get to know how we can start develop with HTML5. All we have to do is write some tags. With a helpful autocomplete in the Visual Studio Code, we can do that pretty fast. Let's start by setting the doc type of HTML5. Then we can add some tags. Let's start by adding a body tag. You can see we have an opening and closing tag. That is what we need in most of the cases. There are some occasions where we have only one tag. In this case, I would like to put something called H1 tag, which stands for header 1. Here we can put simply some text. Let's start by writing game development. Now we are ready to take a look at our file. How to do that? Good thing that we don't have to install any particular application, because this file could be straight rendered from the internet browser you use. To open it up, it's pretty simple. We need to locate where this file is in our file system. I can do that by right-clicking, revealing in Finder. Here's my HTML file. I'm going to double-click on it, and by default it's going to open with your preferred web browser. And here we can see the game development is the text that we wrote in the code itself. As you saw, it was pretty easy to get started. Let's come back to our code and improve our application a little bit. Let's change our code so we can make some interactions with it. Instead of game development, I'm going to write points. Then, after the h1 tag, but still inside of the body tag, I will write a new button tag. In the button, I'm going to write click me. So we have created a new button with the text inside of it. So what we will do next, for the button tag, I would like to add some identifier, because later on in this file, we're going to add some JavaScript code to make some actions happening. In order to do that, I need some identifier that the JavaScript code can use in order to locate the button. We can go inside of the button opening tag and write ID equals clicker. In this case, we have given a unique identifier for this button tag. Next, we're going to improve a little bit our h1 tag by adding another span tag inside of it. Let's go in here. After the points, we would like to represent the points over here. So let's write span, and we're going to set initial value to be equal to 0. And what else we want to do, as we would like to interact with this number later on, for the span I will also give a unique identifier by writing ID equals points. In this case, we have identifiers for both points and the button. Next, what we have to do, we need to add a script. Script in this case is a JavaScript code that we will add in order to give some functionality to our HTML code. In order to do that, inside of the body tag, we will create what is called a script tag. By script tag, we can incorporate JavaScript into our file. Let's declare some variable to hold the points by writing let points. Initially, we will set them to be equal to 0. Then we would like to add the functionality. We're going to take a button and we're going to listen. When it's going to be clicked, we would like to increase the point number. We can do that by writing document. Then we're going to locate the button by writing get element by ID, and here passing the name of it. So in this case, we are looking for clicker. Then we're going to add event listener to listen to particular event. In this case, I would like to listen for any clicks. Next, we have to incorporate the action, which is going to be a function. We're going to open up the function right here and increase the points by 1. We can do that by writing points plus plus. Then we're going to update the points so the user can also see that something has changed by writing document, again, get element by ID. This time we are locating the points by writing point ID. Then we have to change its text by writing text context and setting it to points, which is in this case our variable that's going to increase. Essentially, now we are done with our code. Let's take a look at our code from the web browser. Here you can see that it still says the game development. It says that because we have to refresh the page in order to see the changes. And here's our file. I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little bit better, but essentially, after we click this button, the points should increase initially from 0 up to 1 and so on. As you can see, it actually works. You have successfully created your first HTML page and also given it some functionality. To sum up, HTML5 is great for web development. That also includes web-based games. As you can see, the HTML5 is not the only language that we need to use in order to create some functional application. It all comes down using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS that we will explore in the upcoming videos. Now, I have a question for you. In this video, we will learn to apply basic HTML5 principles in order to create a web-based game. At the end, we will have completed a very simple web-based game using HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. here I have some basic code laid out in order to get started. So let's take a look what we have over here. We have a header section which holds a title. This part is going to be something that you can see in your browser in the tab section. Then we have the body section. The body section is the important part of our game. Here everything is going to be located, including the game itself and the functionality. Then later on we will also add something for the styling, which is going to be using CSS. Inside of the body tag we have a section over here, which is a game area and the box. What we're going to create is going to be a simple game. We will have a bigger box, which is going to be kind of like a playground for our game, and inside of that we will have a smaller box which is going to randomly appear in different places, and our task is going to be to click on it. Each time we click, we will successfully increase our score by 1. So let's get started. In this case, we already have the score out here. The main thing in here would be to start applying JavaScript code. So let's head to the script section over here, and let's start by writing some of the things we will need in order to apply the functionality. We will start by writing out some constants that we will later on use. Constant in this context would be the box area and the score, because those we will want to interact with. Let's start by writing const, short for constant. Then we will give this a name of a box so we can know what we are referring to. And we already know how to do that in order to locate the elements that we have inside of the div by finding its unique ID. In this case, it's called box. So we refer to the whole file by writing document.getElement by ID, and we are finding element by name of box. In this case, every time we would like to use the box tag, we will not have to write all of this again, because we have written it once and applied it to a constant. Next, we will do the same thing with the score. Let's start by writing const score display. We refer to the document get element by ID and refer to the score. In this way, we have the box and score ready. The last thing is going to be the score variable that's going to change, because this score display is just for displaying. So let's write let score. Initially, we will set it to 0. Now we can start by adding the listener event to our box element by writing box.add event listener. Then we're going to write what type of event we are looking for. So in this case, it's going to be a classical click. Then we need to write a function which will hold what kind of actions we would like to execute. Inside of here, first of all, we will increase the score by 1 by writing score plus plus. So each time the box is going to be clicked, we will increase the score by 1. Then we want to display the score in the score display element by writing score display element dot text context equals score. So one of the tips I can give you is each time we change something in the file, you should hit Ctrl S or Command S if you're using Mac in order to save the file. But we can easily incorporate the autosave option under the files autosave. So I have enabled it, so each time I'm writing something, it's saving automatically. Now let's move on to the next section that needs to be created. And the section would be a function in order to move the box itself. So let's create a function. Function in this case will be called moveBox. It's pre-written code that we can execute as many times as we would like to. That's why it's great to create something called functions. First of all, the idea is pretty simple. We will have a smaller box into a bigger box. And the smaller box will in this case have a position. And what we would like to do is to randomly generate the position for it. Later on, once we're going to write a CSS code for game area, you will see that we will set it to 450 pixels by 450. So we need to generate something in between those values. Let's start by writing one for x-axis and one for y-axis. I'm going to write const x to represent the x-axis. We're going to use built-in functions from the math library. We will round it down by using floor, and inside of here we will write math.random to generate a random number, and in order to get it something between 0 and 450, we need to multiply it by 450. Then the same thing we're going to repeat for the y-axis by writing math.floor, and inside of here calling math.random, and again multiplying it by 450. Now the last thing for us to do is to change the smaller box actual position. As we already have the constant called box, we can refer to it, and now you already see the benefits that we created in line number 13, the box constant, because we can refer to it as many times as we need. Let's write box dot, we're going to set its style from the left. So that means here we will take the x coordinates that we have generated, and as in styling we need a pixel. So we're going to combine something like this. The same thing we're going to do for the y-axis by writing top and then putting y and again plus pixels. In this case, once we call a movebox function, it should change the smaller box's relative position. But one thing in here, what we have to add to our event listener right after we have changed the score is actually calling this movebox function. And it's pretty easy just by calling it and putting empty parentheses afterwards. So in this case, each time the event listener is triggered, we also position the box to new place. And one last thing for the script would be initially positioning it in random place, so we can go after the function of the move box and call it itself again. So now that our game functionality is ready, we need to add some styling. Let's head up to the heading tag over here. After the title, we're gonna write style. Inside of the style tags, we can write CSS code. In order to apply CSS code to particular elements of our code, we need to refer to the IDs that we have. So we have div with ID game area and div with ID box. In order to refer to them, here's the syntax that we need to use. I will write game area and we open up the curly brackets. Inside of here, we can write the CSS code. So let's set the width and height for our game area. Earlier I said that it's going to be 450, but actually the smaller box is also going to take 50 pixels itself, so we need to make it a little bit bigger. So we're going to say width is going to be equal to 500 pixels. The same we're going to set for the height. And we're going to set a background color. We can choose whatever color we like to by writing background color. And here are some of the possible options, but we can adjust them a little bit later as well. Let's say I'm going to choose black. Visual Studio Code has this small representational box. If I hover over it, you can see I have an option to choose whatever color I like. So I'm going to choose something a little bit brighter than just black. As you can see, one of the options is using RGB codes. Okay, let's write the code for styling the box itself as well. Referring to the box element, we're going to set the width and height of 50 pixels. In this case, what we would like to do is also to add a position. In this case, I would choose absolute. The positioning style is for our box to be able to float around in the space. Also, we're gonna add some background color so we can see. I'm gonna choose aqua for this one. And now we should be ready to go and try out our code. So again, at this point, we should be ready to go inside of our browser and see how our code runs. As you can see, our game indeed was rendered and displayed by the browser. So let's try it out. So what should happen when I click on the box is the score should increase by 1 and the box itself should change its position. So let's try it out. Indeed, I was able to click on it, the score increased by 1 and the box changed its location. If I click again, multiple times, it's gonna just repeat, and read again. As I click it multiple times, it's just going to repeat itself again and again and again. And that is one of the most important aspects of game development, the ability to repeat the actions. That is what we call a loop. In this case, loop is triggered by us clicking on a box multiple times. We are repeating the same actions over and over again, but with different values. Now you can see how simply it was to create some basic games. You could just imagine what you could do with more time, knowledge, and experience. So in this video, we have seen how we can put together HTML, JavaScript, and CSS in order to create web-based games. But now I have a question for you. In this video, we will acquire skills to enhance HTML5 game development with basic graphic and sound effects to improve aesthetics and player immersion. So we will take a look how to add sound and some animations to our game. By the end of this video, you will be able to integrate basic graphics in our HTML5 code and also add sound effects. So let's get started. What I have over here is a simple MP3 file called click sound. If I'm gonna open it up, play it, you're gonna see it's just a replication of what would happen if we click on something. So adding sound effects to our game is very important to make the player interactions more immersive. So let's get started. Let's open up our code where we left off in the previous video. We would like to add the possibility to play the MP3 sound every time we click on the box. In order to make it happen, let's start by adding some constants to our script. So after the score that we already have, I'm gonna add a constant that's gonna hold the clicking sound. By writing const, I'm gonna call this constant click sound. And we're going to use new audio object in order to tell what's going to be the audio file's name that we would like to play. In my case, it's click sound.mp3. Okay, once that is done, we can move forward in creating a function that's going to play the sound. So let's scroll a little bit down. After the function of movebox, we're going to create another function called play sound. Here inside of the function, we're going to do a simple thing. We're going to call click sound.play in order to play this sound. Now what we have to do is actually to trigger the sound effect by going under the event listener, and somewhere here before the move box, I'm gonna call play sound method that we just created. So in this case, every time we click on the box, it should also trigger the move box and play sound function simultaneously. So let's head to our game and try it out. So here we have our game. Let's click on the box and see if our MP3 sound was actually played. And indeed, each time we click on the box, it's going to repeat the sound again and again and again. Okay, but let's try to click on the boxes very fast. So in this case, what is happening? I clicked on the box like 5 times, but the sound played 2 or 3. Essentially, what we have right now is a small bug. Even though we have done everything correctly, the player experience in this case is not that pleasant because we don't hear the sound each time we click on the box, but just few times if we do it very fast. So we're gonna head back to our code and fix this bug. In order to fix this bug, we're gonna head to our play sound function. And before we play the sound, we're going to set the property of click sound of current time to be equal to 0. So that means each time we trigger the play sound, we point back to the beginning of the file, even though the file wouldn't be played 100%. So let's head back to our game and see if we have successfully solved our problem. So now let's see if we have fixed our problem by clicking on the box multiple times. And indeed, each time we click on the box, it stops the previous play sound and starts it all over again. So we have successfully incorporated the solution for the bug. Now let's enhance our game with a small animation. Each time we have an increase in the score, I would like for the score number to be popping up a little bit bigger than it is at the moment. So let's head back and try to incorporate some animations. Animations is a combination of CSS code and JavaScript in most of the cases. And it's also going to be a case this time. So let's start by adding some styling. We already have the score element. I'm going to add a display property of inline block in order for this animation to be displayed. Then we're going to set a transition that's going to transform in a 0.2 seconds with ease. So that's the type of the transition that we would like to incorporate. Next, I'm going to create a new styling by writing dot animate score. So this is a custom styling that we will apply to the element whenever it's needed. We will write a transformation that's going to scale it up by writing transform scale, and inside of here we can type by how much we're going to scale it. I'm going to write 1.5 times. Now let's scroll a little bit down and incorporate this with our JavaScript code. We need to locate our event listener and add animation for the scoring. So we can refer to our score display by calling class list, and we will add the animation that we just wrote by writing the name of the style, which is animate score. So now the last thing that we have to do is set timeout by writing set timeout and writing what we call a arrow function, which is essentially a function that we write and execute at the same time. So in the previous line, we added this styling by animate score. Now what we want to do is wait 200 milliseconds and remove it. We can do that by writing the same thing, class list, but instead of adding, we are removing it. So here we write animate score and we put 200 milliseconds. Now we can head back to our game and see if the changes have played out. So let's play the game and see if each time we click on the box, the score also increases in size by 1.5. Indeed, now we can see that both sound is working and the animation for the numbers of the score is working. So we have successfully incorporated some graphical enhancements and audio enhancements in our game to make it more enjoyable for the players. Now I have a question for you. In this video, we will take a look at Unreal Engine tools and techniques to construct and design game environment. So essentially, one of the ingredients that make game possible to play is level design, and we need to explore how to shape our game as we want. So by the end of this video, you will be able to apply textures and light elements to enhance the visual appeal and the realism of your game environment. Let's get started. What I have over here is our first person template open. Essentially, this is what you get out of the box when you choose one of the game templates we have in Unreal Engine. So by designing our game, we can ask a question: which tool within the Unreal Engine is essential for creating basic game environment? And the answer would be the landscape editor or the level viewport that we can see over here. Essentially, we can visualize our whole game level. We need to explore how to navigate this view. So let's get started by being able to look around. In order to look around, we need to right click, hold it down, and we can move our mouse around. In that way, we can look around just like playing a video game. Next would be moving around. In this case, we need to click and hold the right mouse button, and using WASD buttons, we can move around just like in a game. And remember, using the mouse, we can keep on looking around and flying in our level. This will take some practice, but after you are used to it, it's pretty intuitive. Another buttons that you should know is Q and E, which allows us to fly up and down. This will definitely help you to navigate our level. Next crucial aspect of moving around our game environment is the camera speed. If we take at the top right corner, there is a camera speed change. By default, it's set to 1, and let's set it to 1.5. In this case, whenever we move around, it should take a little bit easier and faster us around because we have changed the camera movement speed. Next, we need to explore how we can interact with elements within our game. So let's try and move this box over here. First of all, we need to select it. We can select it by left clicking on it. Then you will see these arrows. These arrows will help us to drag our elements across the field in different directions. So let's say if I would like to move it around, I'm using this option over here. This is how we can interact with our elements in the game view. Next aspect that is very important while moving around assets in our game is snapping to the grid. Here we can see is a button that enables or disables snapping to the grid when dragging objects around. Essentially, if this option is enabled, it will snap to the grid that we have applied to our level and the size of the grid. If you disable it, this will allow us to move around the objects smoothly and position them exactly where we want. Another important aspect would be the ability to change the size of the assets we have. So if I click here, we have a button that says Select and Scale Object. So essentially, these arrows will change, and now if we drag and drop, it will change the size of this element in the particular direction. Now let's try adding something to our scene. From this menu over here, I can quickly add objects. So let's go under the shapes and add a cylinder over here. So this places the cylinder in our scene, and we are able to move it around, change its size, position, and the shape if we wanted to. Now let's try to add a light to our screen. So let's say here I can see it's a little bit of a shadow, and I would like to put some light there. Under the same quickly added projects control, we can add a light. Let's say I'm going to choose a point light. So now you can see I can move it around and it eliminates the parts where it's placed. As you can see, our level over here is starting to look quite interesting, but what it lacks is some texture. So let's go and try to add some texture to it. So under this properties over here, we have a Quixel bridge. If we open it up, this essentially is the place where you can download all kinds of surfaces, elements, and add to your game. I'm going to choose one of the surfaces. First, we have to download it. Once that is going to be done, we will be able to take it and apply to our level in whatever parts we would like to. Now that it is downloaded, we can click on Add. It opens up this content browser, and we're going to take this surface, drag and drop on our level. As you can see, our level now looks a little bit more bright. And this is how we apply textures to our games. But now I have a question for you. In this video, we will initiate and effectively set up our first game project in Unreal Game Engine. So covering the essential steps for starting our development journey. By the end of this video, you will be able to set up a new project in Unreal Engine, configure the necessary settings for the game development, and we will start to create our own game. We will look what stands behind the initial game development steps, including scene layout and basic asset integrations, and creating logic for them. So let's get started. First, we need to select from the game templates the first person template, and we need to make sure that we have checked the blueprints and the starter content, because the blueprints will allow us to visually code for our game logic. Other than that, you can also use C++, and the starter content will allow us to start our development journey a little bit faster. Then we can click Create and create the project. The game that we are going to create is going to be a target shooting game. Well, essentially this template gives us already quite a lot of things up and running from the get-go. In order to test out our game, we can hit this play button over here in order to play the game. Now you can move around, take the weapon, and shoot it like it's a first-person shooter game. This will be familiar for all the game players out there. So far we don't have any other targets, just these blue boxes. So let's escape the game by hitting escape. And first thing that we will try out is opening the content drawer to see our game development assets. Here we're gonna right click and create a new folder. This folder is gonna be for storing our target. Once we have created this folder, we want to import an asset file that I got from the internet. I imported and downloaded this Sketchfab model that I got for free. In order to import this asset file, we need to take it, drag and drop to our targets folder. Then click Import. Now if we take a look under our target folder, we should be able to see our targets and materials that this target is made of. So this will be important for us to later on use them in the game. But now we need to create a logic for it. So let's head to the first person folder over here and open up the blueprints. Blueprints essentially contains elements that we are having in the game and the logic behind it. So what we need to do is to create a new blueprint for our target asset. To do that, I'm going to right click on the free space, click on Blueprints and Blueprint class. From here, we're going to choose Actor, and we're going to name our blueprint Target. Hit Enter, and double click and opening it up. First thing we need to do in our blueprints is to create a new static mesh. In order to do that, we're going to head over here and click the Add button. Under here, we will search for static mesh. I'm going to select it. Then we're going to click on the static mesh, and we would like to change our target model. So here we're going to search for target, which is essentially the asset that we added before. Now we have loaded it, and this blueprint has this asset using it. One thing we would like to do is to change its size. So let's head to the right menu. Under the scale, I will change this to be locked, so it changes to all positions, and from 1.0 I'm going to change it to 1.3 and hit Enter. Now we can click Compile on top left corner, and we can click Save in order to save our asset. Now we are able to add it to our level. In order to add this asset to our game, we need to first close our major tab, then open up the content drawer again and drag drop the target in our scene. So you can position it where you want and you can later on change its position. Now let's click on playing our game to see if the target model really is there. So let's take our gun, let's head to our target, and indeed it appeared in our game. So if I try to shoot it, it will not disappear. This is something that we need to improve. So let's stop by clicking escape. Now we can open up the content drawer again, double click on the target to see our blueprints. We can delete these actions that are over here by default because we will add our own. What we need to do is right click and search for event hit. We're going to add this event to our blueprint. Essentially, this allows us to create a game logic. What will happen if something hits our target? This is very essential for the games, is to create the logic. And these blueprints are great because it doesn't require programming skills beforehand. You can visually drag and drop containers together in order to create the logic you need. Now what we're going to take, we're going to excel from here to the new port, and we're going to search for destroy actor. Essentially what we want to do is to destroy our target whenever it is hit. But now, before we go, I have a question for you. In this video, we will finalize our first game project in Unreal Engine by incorporating essential gameplay elements and completing development process. Also, we have to encounter some bugs that we found out earlier. By the end of this video, you will be able to add key gameplay elements such as player control, objectives, and interactive features to our game. So let's get started. First thing that we will do, we will incorporate the bug, which is essentially when we hit the target without the bullet, it also disappears. So let's open our content drawer. Let's go to our target blueprint. And here we're going to improve our blueprint. By coming to the other part, we will draw another branch. Here we're going to look for tag which says has tag, actor has tag. We're going to choose that one, and here we're going to write bullet. Essentially what we want to do is to trigger the destroy action only if the asset that is trying to hit the target has this bullet tag. Well, essentially that means if we run into the target, it shouldn't disappear. So from this actor has tag, under the return value, we will drag another branch, and here we're going to look for branch, which allows us to make a Boolean decisions, which essentially is a true or false condition. Then we're going to take from the event hit, go to the branch, and from the branch there is a true and false statement. Only from the true statement we will hit to the destroy actor. And now essentially we have drawn out a logic which says that whenever we hit the target, we need to check if the actor that hit the target has this bullet tag, and if it does, then and only then it should destroy the actor. So let's save our blueprint over here. Let's close it. But we have to make one more change. Let's go to the content drawer. Here we have our first person projectile, which essentially is what we use for the bullet. So let's open it up. On the right hand, under the details, we will search for tags. Here we will need to put an element, and we will write a bullet, which is essentially what we wrote in our blueprint. Now that it is done, we need to save it, close it, and we can try to run our game. So let's take a look. If I take a gun, but I will not shoot at it first, I will just try to jump into our target, and as you can see, it's still there. But if I hit it with our bullet, it disappears. So we have fixed our target by implementing a blueprint logic. Now let's continue on in improving our game. So now I think we need to make our game a little bit more interesting by adding few more targets to our scene. Let's head to the content drawer, and from there we can just drag and drop the targets as we want. So later on I'm going to change the position. Let's add 2 more targets to our game. Then let's get closer to them. So let's change the position of them. so they are differently placed. Now let's head to this one. Let's select. Let's move it to the left. And let's try to play our game at the moment. So we can head to our gear and hit some targets. We can jump, sprint, because all of that comes with the template that we have chosen. Now this is starting to look like a real game. So there are a few more things that I would like to improve. I would like to add some texture to our ground. So let's head to the Quicksell bridge. And in the Quicksell bridge, let's search for some textures that we can add to our game. So we have this desert texture. Let's add it. So let's make our game a little bit more visually interesting. So let's head to our content drawer to choose some of the textures that we already have in the game assets folder. Under the all, we have content, and here we have level prototyping. And then we have textures and this green one. I'm gonna take it, drag drop on our ground. So now you can see our ground is green. And one last change that I would like to create is moving our starting position. So here, if I move around, you can see is such an icon. This represents the starting position. We can take it and move it around in order to move where we would like to start our game as an actor. So I would like to move it somewhere here besides these blocks. Let's say maybe a little bit over there. And that's it. So I'm gonna hit save and let's play our game. As you can see, once I started to play, my position was changed to this over here. You can see how this green texture even is eliminated to the walls because Unreal Engine is very good at building realistic simulations. Now if we take our gun, we can play our game by hitting some targets. Now you can practice and elaborate on the game visual and logical aspects. So remember, testing your game is very crucial because finding all of those bugs is very important in order to create engaging games. But now I have a question for you. I would like to give you a scenario. You are a game developer and a client comes to you and asks for you to create a game where the client can go around and it's set in the forest. So your task is to find out where you can get textures like grass and trees and add to your scene. Then, by hitting the trees in a certain aspect from the bullets, they should disappear. So the same as we implemented in the game, you should be able to edit the blueprints so that if you hit the trees, they disappear. Good luck with your task. Hello, you've done it. You've completed Game Development HTML to Unreal Engine Mastery course. This isn't just a farewell, it's a celebration of your achievement over the recent weeks. Together, we have explored new concepts, faced challenging tasks, and grown significantly. Looking back, it's impressive to see your progress. Your dedication and the hard work have truly paid off. This accomplishment is a testament to your commitment, and you should be proud. Remember, your learning journey doesn't end here. Game Development HTML to Unreal Engine Mastery is a step towards your continuous growth. The skills and knowledge you have acquired are yours to build upon. The key is to keep applying what you have learned and to remain curious. To continue our journey, consider revisiting course materials for refreshers, engaging with peers in community, taking on new projects that challenge you. Thank you for being a part of Game Development HTML to Unreal Engine Mastery course. Your energy and dedication have made this experience memorable. As our course concludes, your journey is just beginning. I look forward to hearing about your future successes. Keep pushing forward, stay curious, and enjoy the journey ahead. Congratulations, and until we meet again, goodbye.